Thanks for clicking through to Chamber Web TV. This is a special presentation of Web TV with one of my young professionals from the Chamber Young Professionals program. I'm here with Cade Morris from TD Canada Trust. He's a relationship manager. Cade, wonderful to see you.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for inviting me today.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what a relationship manager is with TD Canada Trust Commercial Banking?
All right, well, what a relationship manager is I work with business owners and large businesses within the region. And I work with them on their everyday banking, as well as they're looking to purchase equipment, mortgages, term financing, and any operating debt. So we really help the business owner from a banking perspective in their decision-making abilities. And I work with several accountants and lawyers within the region as well.
So you're a young professional. Not only that, you were the one that came along and we're so excited about this program that you actually went to bat for us at the TD and got them to sponsor the program.
I did, yeah. One of the things that TD is very passionate about is developing young leaders and developing leadership through an organization. As you know, there's going to be a change in leadership over the next probably 10 to 15 years as baby boomers start to retire, and businesses are big now. And people need exposure within businesses, within their own organizations, in order to manage effectively when they get to that level.
Let's push it out to that 15 years, because I'm one of the baby boomers that talking about. And I'm not sure that I really want to, hang up the skates, so to speak. But we're having a lot of fun in our CYP program, Chamber Young Professionals, which you're, of course, sponsoring, and also a Chamber Young Professional yourself. So, we talked about a number of things. We've had a couple of really interesting presentations that we've done. So we're about halfway through the program. Maybe not quite, but just about halfway through the program. So what is probably one of the more important things from a young professional that you see today?
I think today, there's a lot of different things in the world today. And I think the challenge is, as you get into your job, your first job perhaps, you really learn on what you're doing within that job and within that company. And one of the challenges is that when you grow is, how do I build exposure, right? How do I figure out what's out there? How do I make better decisions? And ultimately, to make better decisions, you need exposure. And the nice thing about this program is, we've had Doug Craig in, we've had Bill Davidson in, we've had Mike Ritchie in, and we've had yourself in. 4 people with very different backgrounds that have been very successful. These are the people that we get to talk to, and we get to listen to what their issues are and how they approach those issues.
I think if you two looked over all 4 of those individuals, Mike Ritchie maybe being the exception because he's in your category, he's the CYPer, but I think, in reality, the successes that the individuals have had that you're talking about are all about the exposure that they've given themselves the opportunity.
Absolutely. And the people that we have within this program, it's great because there's people from all different industries, right? We have people who are accountants, lawyers, there was software companies, there was real estate companies. Those are all aspects that are important to a community to keep the community going, right? How do they interrelate? What are the issues that they need to deal with every day? And the nice thing to talk about is we get to share our own experiences.
I know you and I had a little conversation before, and you had a difficult time at answering this, and it probably because, maybe to some degree you're a little bit worried about how you would answer it. But, I guess what's really important from my perspective is being that baby boomer that's, closer to exiting the system than coming into the system. I wonder how young professionals view us. The more senior management level, looking down at our young professionals that are nipping at our heels and want our job. Do you find that there is, maybe the culture around your organization is different, but you probably interact with other young professionals as well. Is there a feeling that there is or is not acceptance by that senior management from those young professionals coming through?
I think there's acceptance from those senior managers. I think their time is very demanding. They have a lot of things they have to do. I think they do want to see that. I think they want to see people make an effort. Leadership is something that's spoken about, and by all the big universities, by all the big research firms. People want to have access to that leadership. They want to understand, how do you make decisions? How do I go through and not make the wrong decision? Whether it's in my everyday job, whether it's in a career move. And I think what this, based on our discussion earlier, my brain's been thinking. And I think what it is access to information. the ability to talk to people through this young mentorship program. You know, we get access to people 4 times a year that are not necessarily directly related to the program, but they are in an informal setting. You know, you can start to talk and perhaps find the mentor that you want or need. And they're open to discussing what their backgrounds are. And I think that's very important.
I think, you know, I think back to, you know, certainly my era in climbing. Now, I was maybe a little bit different because I was very young when I started off in my own business. But I still had the same challenges as I was talking to senior individuals about buying my product or service. And, you know, there were times definitely where I felt they looked at me as this, you know, young, wet behind the ears kid. You know, what does he know about that product or service? And I think times are changing to some degree. I think senior managers are sitting back saying, yes, where's that young individual that I'm going to groom to take my position? But at the same time, we also spoke about the economy playing a little bit of a role. You know, there's not as much, especially if you're a senior manager. Boy, you know, you lose your job because of cutbacks or whatever the case may be. There's not a whole lot of opportunity out there because there are lots of young professionals that are out there doing the same thing. So, you know, maybe in a different economic situation, things could be different too. But I think the acceptance, certainly from my perspective, seems to be out there now.
Well, and I think it's even more important now.
Yeah.
You know, as you know, we go through the global issues we're going through. You know, now's the time that you see good leadership. Now's the time where, you put your nose to the grindstone every day to do your job, but you need to have the blinders off. You need to have access to people, you know, so that if or when something does happen or when the markets do change, you're ready to go, right? You're building your network, right? You have people that know you within the community and respect you.
Now, Kate, you graduated from university, young punk, out there, degree, ready to take on the world. Job was critically important. Things have changed a little bit in your life. You know, you got married, you've got some kids, you've got a family responsibilities. You've lived in other municipalities. You might want to even talk about that. But how important now, from a young professional's perspective, is community?
I think community is very important. You know, I was that guy. I lived out in Western Canada right after school, moved to a couple major cities out west. To me at that time, it was the paycheck that was important and the opportunity, not so much the community. Now I have a family. Community is important, right? It's important to be involved. I think that, you know, it's tough for kids today to move around a lot. Schools are very big. You know, I think I like this region. It wasn't an accident. We ended up back here. I grew up in this region, as you know. I was away for it for a good period of time. We're happy to be back. The region's growing. It's a great place to be, and you can see that you know, all the mayors are looking at how do we make this community better, so that we can attract good businesses that are going to pay good paychecks to our
and
citizens.
You talked about this region being important to that exposure issue we talked about at the very beginning. That, and I think you kind of related to one of the western cities that you lived in. You know, you had to go a long ways to get out of that demographic and hit people. Where in southern Ontario, you know, you've got millions of people within, you know, an arm's length.
You know, it's no question this is an attractive area for a lot of businesses because of the population within both Canada and the U.S. with the access to, you know, there's lots of big universities here. You know, Western Canada is very strong in certain areas, and we're strong in certain areas here. A lot of it's about, you know, what do you find in your strengths and where do you want to go?
Well, if you're a young professional, you want to move to this region, Cade Morse, TD Commercial Banking, relationship manager is the guy to talk to, certainly. But Cade, maybe you want to give just a last impression on how you feel about the Chamber embracing Chamber Young Professionals program.
I think it's a great idea, Greg. I think that, you know, it really, what it does is opens up avenues for people to develop their own personal leadership skills, and it gives business owners or presidents of companies the opportunity to look at their staff and say, who are my key people here? And let's start getting them exposed. Let's start them getting used to being in a position where they're going to have to make decisions. And they're going to need that background and resource to, make the best decisions they can.
Well, I think certainly from my perspective and the Chamber's perspective, we're proud to have individuals like you part of our programs. I think it certainly gives a level of comfort to that senior management that we're in good hands in the future, and you're going to be taking care of things when we're long gone. So certainly appreciate your support of the program, Cade. Appreciate TD's support as well of the Chamber of Commerce, and great to have you aboard.
Thanks, Greg.